you and I are...
I broke a table. I thought they were fixable.
He's been there for 5 days.
They haven't played anybody, Paul.
Oh my gosh.
They haven't played anybody yet. Happy Friday, Falcons fans. Welcome to another show. I'm your host, Will McFadden. I'm joined by Tori McElhaney and Terrin Waack. Welcome to the Friday Five. We are here to just talk a little bit about the really good vibes that have been in the building following an impressive Sunday night victory against the Minnesota Vikings. And let's start right there, Terrin. Let's start with our Friday forecast. How are you feeling heading into this weekend, another division game against the Carolina Panthers on tap?
Well, my ears are still ringing, so I can barely hear you from US Bank Stadium. Wow, it was loud.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
Yeah. I was getting somewhere.
Yeah, how was the atmosphere for you? Like, what was your read on the whole evening?
Tori and I looked at each other during the first Falcons offensive drive with, like, our jaws just down.
Yeah.
It was so loud.
Yeah, it's the only NFL environment that I've ever been in. I've been covering the league for 5-6 years, and so I've been to almost every away, like every stadium, give or take, like I think 3 or 4 I've crossed
Lucky.
off. Right? But it is the one environment that I've now gone into twice, and every single time I'm blown away by how loud it is, and it's the only one that I would compare to an SEC environment. Like, Terrin went to Alabama. Will, you and I both went to UGA. Like, there is kind of a different level of noise.
It just means more.
It just
Tori.
means more
it just
than
means
SEC.
more.
Yeah, SEC. And I would argue that at US Bank Stadium, it's the one NFL place that like rivals it. Like, there
It
in
means
Buffalo,
just as much, Terry. It means just as much.
It was crazy.
is.
Your jaw just naturally drops.
It's cool too. They have one of the best pregame shows as well. Not
The
to
fake
like
snow.
There is fake snow.
is insane.
Like, it's actually really cool. Now, we also have Ludacris, so...
That's true. Bone Crusher.
And Bone Crusher, yeah. So I don't know,
Ludacris, remember when he propelled from the ceiling?
I do remember that.
I was literally about to say, and we
Yeah.
also
That was
have a mascot who
insane.
bungee jumps out of
jumps,
the roof.
Freddie Falcon.
So
Two
can't
different
overlook that.
battles.
Two very different,
battles.
yeah, two different, like, in-game vibes,
Yeah.
both really cool in their own way. And I honestly, like, I oftentimes I'm just like, so what's Freddie doing today?
So
like,
what-
what's he jumping off of today?
Like, thinking about the vibes in that stadium and knowing that the Falcons came out with a primetime win.
Huge. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Primetime, big time.
Are they going to carry those vibes into this game against a different opponent
Yeah.
and a different type of atmosphere?
This is a very important game because I think the Falcons need a pretty decisive win over the Carolina Panthers, like riding that high. And something that we've talked a lot about just off of the podcast is just kind of the juxtapositions of week 1 and 2 in the 2024 season when the Falcons lost at home to the Steelers and then go on the road, prime time, in Philadelphia and beat the Eagles, comparatively speaking to week 1 and week 2 of this year where you lose at home to Tampa Bay, you go on the road, primetime game against the Minnesota Vikings. And it's funny because I was thinking back on that the way that you felt about those, and I couldn't help but really hone in on the fact that last year the conversation was all about the offense and Kirk Cousins leading the charge 90 seconds down the field to put Atlanta over top of the Eagles, and whereas this time around it's the defensive dominance of what has happened with this team, it against Minnesota particularly, that's the storyline. And the second part of that is how that is actually the ramifications in a good way of what happened in week 18 against the Carolina Panthers last year, and kind of how the defense was playing pretty well in the month leading up, and then it was a steep decline in that one game. And I think it automatically kind of put the spotlight on the defense. And to me, there's just so many cool storylines that I think are happening kind of as the evolution of this team and organization goes along.
I think that's well said. And I think we kind of felt pretty good about the future of the offense coming out of that Carolina game anyway, but it was a great reminder that it was the squeakiest wheel is still the defense. And that was a pretty loud squeak that it gave to end the 2024 season. All right, yeah.
The squeaky wheel gets fixed.
To me, the key difference is this was such a new revelation for you, and in kind of the area where there was the biggest ground to make up on the defensive side of the ball, even though the offense is yet to really have that game that I think we all feel they're capable of, I'm much more confident that that's going to be kind of around the corner than I may have been 3 weeks ago, that we would have gotten a type of performance like we did from this defense that we did on Monday night. So now that is kind of like recalibrated my confidence level for this team moving forward the rest of the season. And I think that's kind of a great place for us to start just talking about our confidence level in some of the various aspects about the Atlanta Falcons 2 games into the season. 2 strong games, 2 solid performances, some nitpicks here and there, 2 different outcomes, unfortunately, but we've learned a lot. So we've got 5 different categories, as we are wont to do here on the Friday 5. I'm going to kind of give us a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then on a scale of 1 to 5, we're just going to hold up our hands, 1 through 5, your confidence level in these various categories.
Okay.
All right? Everybody understand?
Yep.
And then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yep.
Cool. So Atlanta's kicking game. 2 very different performances, week 1 to week 2. What is your confidence level? 3, 2, 1.
We cheated. Tori and I
Okay,
both
that
have 2
really
numbers.
threw me for a loop. I was like, we got 6 and we got 5, but we're playing like the chopsticks game, and we're doing one of these. That's not part of the routine. Okay,
No,
explain,
2 different
ladies,
numbers.
please.
Okay, so Terrin and I both kind of have the same thought process. If you run out Parker Romo, our confidence is higher. So I have 4, Terrin has 3, and then if you were to run out Koo, we have a 2 for Koo because of everything that we've talked about on this podcast previously, everything that we've written about with the kicking game. So I think that's where both of our heads were at.
Oh, for sure. I think my level of confidence might be a bit lower for Parker Romo solely because it was 1 game. And you can ride adrenaline. It was a familiar stadium. So that's the only reason. If I see it again, and I think that's exactly what Raheem Morris wants too. He said, I want to see it again. And that's why his confidence level is a 90% that Parker Romo will play in Carolina too.
Yeah. Terrin, can you explain to the people at home, because I know you were getting a lot of questions about this when you released the depth chart about Koo being listed as the starting kicker. Can you explain kind of the mechanics of, okay, even though Raheem is saying that there's a 90% chance that Parker Romo is going to be the guy, that like Koo was the one listed?
Yes, of course. So the depth chart is based off of solely the active roster. Your 53 men go on the depth chart. Parker Romo is not on the active roster. He is on the practice squad. The Falcons elevated Parker Romo for the week 2 game in Minnesota, and he is allowed 3 practice squad elevations per season. If the Falcons want to play him a 4th time, they have to sign him to the active roster. Younghoe Koo, even though he did not travel to Minnesota, is still on the active roster. He was inactive for week 2, but that is why when it shows kicker, Younghoe Koo on the depth chart,
That's why.
that is why.
Yeah.
That is why.
I just know that was something that we got over and over and over this week, and it's like there are different things at play here.
Correct.
You're telling me the depth chart is not the gospel truth? Oof.
I know.
It is not written in stone.
No, it's not.
Shocking. Well, I am trying to be more decisive in my life, and I was able to pick just one number, unlike you
Is
two.
that a
And
humble brag?
I know. I was like, okay.
yeah, so I landed ultimately at the same spot because to me, if what Parker Romo did was awesome,
Yes.
and it is hopefully the start of something great this season. However, 1 game is the smallest possible sample size. I just can't put any weight in it. I can put hope in it, but I can't put any real confidence in that. So right now, the kicking game for Atlanta is the part I'm the least confident in across the board for this team. And that's not necessarily saying that the players won't perform better in the future, that they have, that Parker Romo won't continue this, that if Koo gets back out there, he won't be all fixed. It's just at this point in time, I can't say regardless of who's going out there that, I know beyond the shadow of a doubt what's going to happen. And there used to be a time not very long ago when that was the case. Mm-hmm. So it's more just by product of the nature of the question. I can't put my full confidence in this kicking game at this point in time until I see more from these guys.
Yeah, which is fair.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the run game. A big turnaround against Minnesota after a little bit of a different performance than anything we've seen from them recently. So where is the confidence level with this run game? Let's go 3, 2, 1. All right, we are all in agreement. We got a 4. So Terrin, you kind of had a little note in here. What's holding you back from making this a 5?
The fact that Caleb McGarry is held back.
Okay, so missing that key piece does it cap the ceiling overall, or is there a chance that it could ever get back to a 5 for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't prepared to answer. But I don't think it caps it. I think I just need to see more. There are a lot of these categories where you're going to hear me say I need to see more because we are only entering week 3. And I think back to how on a different show, Tori talked about how often and how consistently the Falcons ran the ball to Caleb McGarry's side, and then they didn't in week 1. I don't know if we have the numbers for week 2 off the top of our noggins, but regardless, like, you could see that immediate difference. And so until it's done repeatedly, the week 2 performance is done week after week after week, then maybe it'll inch toward the 5.
Tori, you were, I think a little bit concerned about the run game based on what you saw in week 1. So what changed for you? What did you see in week 2 that has this back to a 4?
Yeah, so I think that it starts up front with those offensive linemen, and I think honestly it's something as simple as there was just better execution. I thought the blocking, they were holding onto their blocks a lot longer, kind of playing through the whistle in the right zones, in the right areas. I just overall thought the offensive line executed at a higher clip in the run game. Specifically, we can talk about pass protection later, but just in the run game, I just saw night and day improvements from especially some guys that you are used to seeing them, like the relying upon them, like the Jake Matthews, the Chris Lindstroms of the world, like just playing like how we know them to play. So I think that was one. Then there was the whole 12 personnel usage and how significant they upticked their 12 personnel.
Which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends?
Yes, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and how that affected Charlie Warner's play time. He went from averaging he was in on about 43% of the Falcons' total offensive plays in week 1, and that number jumped to 85% with the inclusion of more 12 personnel, which, I think Zach Robinson kind of talked about moving in and out of personnel groups and feeling like they can do that based on what looks they're getting. But I think that also, and you got to give credit where credit is due to Zach Robinson as well, seeing in week 1 how Tampa Bay was playing Charlie Warner, and in week 2 there was a bit more of a wrinkle into what Charlie Warner was doing, where he was lining up, how he was being used, whether he was motioning, whether he was not motioning. And I think it kept Minnesota on their toes a little bit, where there wasn't this like telegraphing of like, oh, wherever Charlie Warner's going, he's the lead blocker. That's where we're going. That's the hole that we're plugging. So I think ultimately that's why I feel confident moving forward that this week 2 example of what the run game is more in line with the standard that I think Atlanta has set for itself over the last few years. And that goes to execution from the offensive line and also just kind of play calling in general, the usage of Charlie Warner, and really getting back into a good groove with that.
Yeah, and they looked great on Sunday night. I think it's crazy even knowing how much Minnesota kept 2 safeties back and how much they were in 12 personnel. Like, that just feels like it was meant to be, that they were going to have success on the ground.
Yeah.
They've had success against Carolina a lot running the football. So I think that there's a good chance this kind of continues and really you get on into the season with a solid run game in 2 out of your first 3. Something that we aren't used to seeing really a lot of was the defensive performance, especially the pressure that Atlanta got on Sunday night against Minnesota. So after seeing kind of what this unit is capable of, how does that recalibrate our confidence in it moving forward? Let's give it a quick 3, 2, 1. All right, so Terrin, you and I got 4s. Tori, you got a 3.
Yeah.
What's your holdout here?
So my holdout is, so I will say it's a high upside 3.
Okay,
like
we're at a 3.7?
I do believe that this is going to manifest later on into a 4 and potentially into a 5. I've loved what I've seen from the defense and the defensive pressure and just the uptick in the way that they're affecting a quarterback from 2 games this year compared to, 3 years of defensive performances that we've seen. So I want to preface this by saying that. The reason it's a 3, though, is I do think based on the issues that Tampa Bay was having with their offensive line, they were without Tristan Wirfs, and also they had 3 different offensive linemen playing out of their normal positions when the Falcons faced them. So that in and of itself, I think it's always going to cause issues and problems for the communication for that line. Now, for Minnesota, they ended up not having their full gamut of offensive linemen healthy for the full 4 quarters. And I think that there were they lost their center to a concussion very early on. So I think, again, in terms of communication, in terms of like rotating in and out with their guys, kind of getting more second string guys in with it. And also the fact that J.J. McCarthy is only 2 starts into his young career. So I think it's true that he was holding onto the ball, I think, a little bit too long in certain situations that maybe Josh Allen doesn't have that same time to throw. So that's where I'm at with the 3 is like, I feel good about where they're at. That like the 3 is like baseline. I feel good about where they're at. But in order for me to feel good to the point of giving them a 4 or a 5, I need to see this performance replicated against a team like Washington with Jaden Daniels in the pocket, and again on Monday Night Football against arguably the best and hottest offense in the National Football League right now, which is Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So there is, again, a 3, but a high upside 3 with the potential to show me more.
That just, Terrin, reminds me of the classic college football argument of like, they haven't played anybody, Paul.
Oh my gosh.
They haven't played anybody yet. I gotta see it. I gotta see it against Bama. I gotta see it against Tennessee.
Give me Bama.
That's what Tori was just doing it to us. I think you and I
Give
are a
her
little
the
bit.
Bills.
Give me
Bring
Josh
on
Allen.
Josh Allen. I want those folding tables. You and I
Well,
are.
I broke a table. I thought they were fixable.
Really?
No, they're plastic.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I made a friend jump on a table, and I was like, it's fine, it'll be fixed. And my roommate was like, no, it's not. And I was like, yes, it will. They do it all the time in Buffalo. No, they're just actually breaking tables.
Yeah, no, they're
throwing
just
them away.
I had to buy a new one within a week.
You had to shell out to repair a table after daring somebody to jump on it?
Yes.
That is the most Terrin story I've ever. I love that.
I know.
Oh my gosh. All right, really quickly, Terrin.
Segue, sorry.
You're at a 4.
Yes.
So how much did this jump for you week 1 to week 2?
Week 2 is what I expected to see. Just like
Okay.
after talking to Nate Ollie a lot during the preseason and this attack style front that takes out a lot of the thinking and just lets the players get after it. Get off, get off, get off. GTFO, whatever you want that to stand for. And week 1 threw me for a loop. The fact that there was only 1 sack. I was like, did I drink the Kool-Aid? But no.
Did I drink the
Kool-Aid came back in week 2. So it's just maintaining it. I don't know if
You
we're
were
going to
taste
see
testing the
6 every time, but I think what we saw in week 2 is much more indicative of what this defense can be, and everyone is saying that too.
I'm right there with you, Terrin.
With the Kool-Aid?
Yeah. In fact, like, bring the
yeah.
whole pitcher down here. Break through that wall. Bring me that pitcher. Make sure it's red, because I almost went with a 5.
Almost?
I almost went with a 5 for this, but I want
Not enough Kool-Aid.
to put a pin in it right now, and I want to move us on to turnovers. All right, so we're going to share our confidence level for turnovers, and then I'm going to pick up this thought right here. So 3, 2, 1. All right.
Ooh.
We got a 3, 4, and a 5. I want to come to you really quickly, but I'm going to stay with the 5 because the Falcons were already pretty good at turning the football over before they suddenly developed the pass rush, or before they developed this part of their game, which I think has as much to do with generating turnovers as kind of like anything else on defense. It's almost like the Falcons have been doing it the hard way for the last couple of years. But now when you give Jesse Bates a quarterback who feels pressure and is going to be a little more antsy to throw, or is not able to pick up on the coverages quick enough because he's got Leonard Floyd bearing down on him or Brandon Dorless chasing him out of the pocket, I think there's going to be way more opportunities. I know week 1 they let a few kind of literally slip through their hands, but I saw in week 2 that kind of turnaround, and now I do have a lot of trust because I've seen it before from this group, and I saw in training camp the ferocity with which they were trying to punch the ball out.
Yeah.
We've yet to really see that manifest in a game, but I believe it's coming.
I know. I just give Mike Hughes a chance, you
Exactly.
know, because he did it how many times throughout training camp? Like 4.
Right. So it's like I've seen it before, and I'm willing to put a 5 on this one because I think that the pass rush, if it does stay at a 4 level, those two combined, this could be a defense that really ends the year like top 5 in that turnover margin.
Yeah, I'm also high on this turnover discussion as well. I gave him a 4, and it's because you're seeing guys in the right spots. Like that was my biggest thing, even a takeaway from week 1. It's like, okay, yeah, there were no turnovers in that game, but there should have been 4. Like, literally, Xavier Watts has 2 in his hands, 1 hit Caden Ellis in his chest, another one A.J. Terrell is diving for, can't hold on to it. Like, they were in the right spots. They were ready to make plays. It just a millisecond away.
Yep.
Now, it manifested in week 2 to where they were Billy Bowman Jr. with that interception, which was a beautiful play on the ball. Xavier Watts kind of tracking it deep, and then, of course, a sack fumble. So I think, for me, that's why I'm pretty high on it, is for the last 2 weeks that we've seen them, they've been in the right spots. They've been there to make plays, and I think that should only continue. If we saw it in the first 2 weeks, I think it's something that I've seen enough of the good moments and the instincts and the understanding of where to be on the field in order to make those plays. Even though they didn't make them in week 1, they made them in week 2, and I feel confident about it continuing to progress in that way.
Terrin, you're the lowest on our list.
I know. So I agree with everything that y'all have said. Let me just say that to start. I gave a 3 more so because I think other offenses are going to get cleaner as the season progresses. Like Tori said, they're in the right positions. But will the opportunities be there? Like, yes, the pass rush is getting after it, but our quarterback's going to get smarter in a sense where they throw it away rather than chuck it down. Or
I think it depends on which quarterback.
Yeah,
exactly.
Potentially.
So I do also... I'm going to stick with, I think the offenses are going to get cleaner, so will the opportunities be there before I just ramble.
There you go.
All right, well, let's talk about our own quarterback and the passing game. And, I don't think that we have seen nearly what this offense or this passing game is capable of so far. So, given that, what is our confidence level in Michael Penix and the passing game moving forward? 3, 2, 1. All right, y'all are both at 3s. I'm at a 4. So, floor is yours. Why are they 3s?
So I think that there is still a lot left on the table for this offensive pass game. I think that it is something that I even talked about in the mailbag this week because people were asking about Drake London's performance. They're asking about, the fact that Michael Penix has gone 0 for 10 in air yards beyond and throws beyond 15 air yards, and it's like, that's not something we're used to seeing. And my response to that is you do have to give credit where credit is due to Tampa and Minnesota with the way that these safeties and secondary guys are playing the Falcons right now. There is a very adamant by defensive coordinators, at least early in this year, that they are not going to lose to Michael Penix's arm strength. And you look back, and I believe the numbers, this is off the top of my head, but I believe he had 356 total passing yards off of throws beyond 15 air yards in his 3 starts last year. That's a big number. It's the second most, I think, in the league over that span of quarterbacks. So I ultimately think that is something that defensive coordinators early have pinpointed as that's something the Falcons want to do. They want to push the ball downfield. They know that Michael Penix has that arm strength.
I think he was number 1 in air yards per attempt, like in the games that he played, like he qualified. Yeah.
So I think that that is a big piece of what we're seeing defenses try to take away. And also in the first half against Minnesota specifically, Michael Penix didn't really have a lot of time in the pocket. I think there are some things that the Falcons offensive line want to clean up in terms of pass protection, but there are a lot of times where the routes weren't, the receivers weren't even able to get to the top of their routes before someone is in Michael Penix's face and he's having to check down to Bijan Robinson, which then he's like, it's funny because even Michael Penix was asked about it this week and he goes, well, I mean, I have Bijan that I can just check the ball down to and he can probably get 10 yards, so it's fine.
Like the world's best, just like 5th option.
Yeah, exactly. So I think ultimately, again, I'm not concerned about it right now because I am seeing how defenses are playing the Falcons. It's going to be, if we get to the point in 3, 4, 5 weeks where there still is nothing manifesting downfield, then I'm probably going to get concerned because then that means that the defenses that they're playing are not respecting the run and think that they can at least get to the point they may give up yards, but then you get it in the red zone and it shrinks the field and it's okay, we'll be fine. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it.
Anything you want to add to that, Terrin?
Mine is just because of the big picture. Michael Penix Jr. is just entering his 6th start and his 3rd in his season where everything is curated to him, but it's still so soon. you're asking me in week 3 all these confidence levels. I'm like, there are 2 games, and they both went very, very differently. I don't know. The teeter-totter's not teetering.
The teeter-totter's not teetering.
And so it's just like I need to see more. Like I've said for like the past few, I just need to see more.
The teeter-totter's not teetering is absolutely
I don't even know if the analogy
amazing
makes
new
sense.
addition. That's great. So mine is a 4. I actually think it's ticked up really quickly here. I think it's ticked up since week 1, like since week 2. Like I think that he's shown me more over these 2 weeks because it's not been the style of play that we all expected to see from him.
I think that's
right?
completely
Like
fair.
after Patrick Mahomes had his breakout season in 2018, 2019, 2020, we saw a lot of defenses say, we're not going to give up those big plays because we know you can hit them. We're going to try to make you be patient. We're going to make you your own worst enemy. And we're going to believe that you're going to kind of get frustrated with these checkdowns to Bijan Robinson, but who could get frustrated at that? I would just take that all day long. Thank you very much. And you're going to force the ball into coverage. And we're going to pick it off. Yeah. That was kind of the mentality, and you can see defenses employing that right now against Michael Penix. But what he's done is say, thank you very much. I'll take this easy completion, and we're going to move the ball right down the field. That's not been the issue. It's been the red zone. We will save that for another day because that does it for our 5 confidence categories, and we are going to very quickly wrap up with something a little bit fun to end on a positive note. We want to celebrate just one of the best moments from Sunday Night Football. It wasn't, one of the 5 field goals that Parker Romo made. It was the celebration after he made all 5 of them and he joined the Sunday Night Football broadcast. If you haven't seen the clip, we're going to play it for you right now.
And I know you're learning your teammates' names. You know their names, right?
I know Bijan.
This is Leonard Floyd over here. You guys want it? Nice to meet you.
All right, so obviously there, Parker Romo doesn't know who one of his teammates are.
Which, fair. Like,
Tori, explain it.
He's been there for 5 days. And, okay, so it is fun because he hit, as many field goals as he was a full day as a Falcon, which is kind of an interesting
Parallelism.
5 to 5. Yeah, but in his defense, how many times was he probably around Leonard Floyd? Like, defense,
yeah.
Because I remember even Chris Lindstrom was asked earlier this week about, like, did you know Parker Romo? And he's like, well, yeah, like, because, offensive line, like, we block for him, like, all this kind of stuff. So it made sense. But Leonard Floyd, like, he doesn't have to be around Parker Romo. He's just like, yeah, that guy. So, and also, I think it's a good thing that it happened with Leonard Floyd and not like someone else.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Leonard Floyd is a good sport and was probably like, yeah, man, I don't really know your name either.
Leonard's like, okay.
Yeah.
He's probably just like, hey, I'm Leonard. Nice to meet you. Like, yeah, you're totally right. I think it was just such a funny moment for him to be like, I know Bijan.
Yeah. It was
Who doesn't know Bijan?
Fantasy football player over here. I know you.
Right, yeah.
You saved my season last year. But that was just one of the best moments, honestly, watching that as I was editing Terrin's incredible game breakdown, which you guys can find at the end of every single game on AtlantaFalcons.com. That just popped up in the periphery, stopped, took it all in. It was amazing. And so that's brought a lot of joy. But hopefully this episode brought you a lot of joy. We appreciate you tuning in every single Friday to get a little bit of a dose of Falcons heading in to your weekend. So be sure to check out our pregame kickoff, which goes up on YouTube live an hour before kickoff. So check that out. Check out all the coverage on AtlantaFalcons.com. Guys, anything else that I'm forgetting?
No.
Nothing for you?
All righty. Well, that'll do it for us here. For Tori McElhaney and Terrin Waack, I'm Will McFadden, and we will see you next time.